Great. All right, so want to welcome everyone to Invest in Her's Industry Insights event. The topic of our discussion tonight is going to be around supplier diversity and procurement. And I know that I'm really excited for the panel that we have tonight, talking about this topic that we actually get asked a lot about. So I think our audience and our network is going to find this really valuable. But before we get into the conversation, just a few housekeeping things. The program for tonight is we'll do a quick intro to Invest in Her. We'll meet our panelists, and then we're going to dive right into the questions and the discussion with everybody here tonight. So a little bit about Invest in Her. If you haven't already been introduced to us, we are the founders of Pittsburgh's all-female pitch competition. We actually sort of came together in 2015. All of the co-founders were members of Coro Pittsburgh's Women in Leadership program. And this was the sort of culminating project that our cohort came up with. And we saw a huge need in the community to create a space and a network and opportunities to support and uplift female entrepreneurs. So we just have kept it going. We've hosted 4 pitch events. We've, have well over 100 applicants for all of the pitch events. 10 networking events, $30,000 in cash prizes. And then we have a network of 1,000 and plus, entrepreneurs, investors, and partners, and growing. And I'm going to hand it over to my co-founders to do quick introductions before we jump into some of the other elements of our agenda. So Aster, do you want to start?
Sure. My name is Aster Teklai. I am, as Sam said, a co-founder of Invest in Her, also a member of the 2015 Women in Leadership cohort. I am currently with the Urban Redevelopment Authority. I'm a business strategy officer, and I also manage the city's Avenue of Hope program. Thank you.
Great. Elise?
Hello, everyone. My name is Elise Williams. I'm currently in the year of COVID. I'm having some technical difficulties, so pardon not seeing my face. I, as was mentioned, am a co-founder as well, participating in the Women in Leadership program with Coro. And I am currently transitioning to a new role as a campus recruiter with UPMC.
And I'm Sam Hertzman. I'm also a co-founder of Invest in Her. And when I'm not working on Invest in Her, I work at Duquesne Light Company, and I oversee their charitable giving, volunteerism, and sustainability strategy. All right, we want to give a quick shout out to our event sponsor. So we've partnered with Food 21 to help launch these events. They're actually graciously lending us their Zoom account. So we are forever grateful for that. And just a little bit about Food 21. They're really dedicated to expanding the agricultural economy here in the Pittsburgh region and throughout Pennsylvania. They have a number of ways in which someone in the food space could get involved, but particularly want to shout out the Pittsburgh Food and Beverage Network, which has become, a really great resource for those in the food space. So quick shout out to Food 21. All right, so I've shared the bios of our panelists in the emails that went out promoting the event, but I want to actually give an opportunity for each of them to kind of do a quick intro of themselves and talk a little bit about their experience. So if it's all right, I'll start with Ebony Mcqueen-Harris to give a quick introduction.
Thank you, Sam. Also, thank you to the Invest in Her team for welcoming me to the conversation. As was said, I'm Ebony Mcqueen-Harris. I am currently serving in the role of Manager of Supplier Diversity and Inclusion with UPMC, where I help to manage our strategic initiatives and our diverse businesses. And I do that system-wide. I'm a Pittsburgher, born and bred, love this city, and thoroughly am enjoying seeing the growth of Invest in Her. So glad to be here.
We are happy to have you. And Ebony's been a longtime friend and partner of Invest in Her. She served as a judge, she served as a mentor and a resource for us as we've grown and evolved over time. So we're really glad to have her with us tonight, and especially in her new role at UPMC. Next, we'll go to Micah Caporali, and Micah and I happen to know each other fairly well, but I'll let him give an introduction.
Thanks, Sam, and team as well. My name is Micah Caporali. I am the Supplier Diversity Program Manager at Duquesne Light. So that's how my connection is made with Sam, and I guess now invest in her. But yeah, kind of as Ebony said, thank you so much for inviting me to today's conversation. Looking forward to the discussion about supplier diversity. I also am a Pittsburgh native, so I'm also a boomerang. So I left for 5 years. I went down to the Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia area, and then decided to come back home to Pittsburgh because that's what Pittsburgh does to you. So, and a little bit of my background, a little bit in finance and procurement. And this is now my second role leading supplier diversity for a company. So I'm happy to be in this space. And, you know, what I like the most about supplier diversity is it really kind of ties in my personal into my professional experience. So, you know, being a member of the LGBT community, really with the journey that I've dealt with and the struggles I've dealt with personally, that's where I really found during COVID, after a lot of reflection, that, you know, I really wanted to get in the supplier diversity space full time, given my procurement background. And so that's what has led me to Duquesne Light. And it'll be a year next week already, which has gone very fast. But yeah, so that's a little bit about me, and thank you very much.
Great. I know we're very happy to have you at Duquesne Light, Micah.
Thanks.
Next, we have Jazmine DeRico, and Jazmine has a connection to one of our co-founders as well. And I think you'll start to see there's a theme here tonight that we've sort of tapped into our professional and our personal networks. But Jazmine, if you want to give a quick introduction of yourself, that would be great.
Yes, so I'm Jazmine DeRico. I work for the Urban Redevelopment Authority of Pittsburgh, along with Auster. That's our connection. So yeah, I'm fairly new. I've been here. Well, I'm very new. I've been there for about 6 months now. Prior to this, I worked at UPMC. Ooh, UPMC. So we don't know each other, but we got kind of like a connection. And then, prior to that, I worked for the city of Pittsburgh as a building inspector for about 6 years. So I've been in the construction industry for a very, very long time. So MWBE is my program. I'm the program assistant over at the URA regarding this program. And it's very important to me. It stands for Minority and Women-Owned Business Enterprises. And of course, I'm a minority and a woman. So it means so much to me. And I love my job, even though I'm very new at it. And I'm not a Pittsburgh native, so don't come at me. No, I'm from Arkansas, so I'm a Southern girl. But I moved here about 8 years ago, and my dad's a Pittsburgh native. So I learned so much being a building inspector, and I learned about Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh's people. And let me tell you something, I love it. So I am now invested in my community, my new community that I've grown to love and support. And that's me, and that's why I'm here.
Well, Jazmine, I can say, just speaking as a Pittsburgh native, that I think if you have someone in your family who's a Pittsburgh native, then we consider you part of the tribe. So no need to worry about that. And we're really excited to have you here tonight. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we'll get into the conversation. And just a reminder to those who are joining us that you can ask questions in the chat, and we'll be sure to pose those to our panelists throughout. But really the goal here is to just cover high level topics and tips and tricks that our entrepreneurs need to know if they want to navigate the procurement space. So I really wanted to start off the conversation with getting, high level philosophy or management approaches from each of your organizations around supplier diversity. So Ebony, maybe do you want to start us off and kind of speak at a high level what UPMC is looking at and how you're approaching supplier diversity at your organization?
Sure. Thank you for the question. And I every time I hear of supplier diversity and inclusion for us, I am a living, breathing result of that. I am also a former diverse business owner, woman-owned business owner myself, and I was that for 10 years. My husband is a diverse business owner himself. And so we know about the bootstrapping piece. We know about starting from the ground up. We know about engaging. We know about how you all tapped into your network, your professional network to do this, is which we always encourage our diverse business owners to do. And so one of the things that when we're looking at a high level and engaging our diverse business owners is looking at how they bring value to an organization. And so although you'll hear me say UPMC a lot, this is pretty much across the board when engaging with any type of business. And so that is making sure that, at least for us, that you are a legitimate certified vendor with us, and that having that certification that Jazmine mentioned, whether it's MBE, minority business enterprise, or women-owned business and enterprise, or LGBTQ, or veteran disabled, disadvantaged. Although it is not necessary to have a certification for all companies, it's a nice feather in your cap to have as a diverse business. We also are looking for companies that provide value addition. And so that is a value addition to that company's bottom line needs. And what I always tell folks is that look at the companies that you are looking to engage. On an average basis with UPMC, we're roughly having about 7,000 vendors. And of that 7,000, we're doing about 5% of our diverse businesses, we're engaging with them. And that is through programs and platforms such as this, and community engagement, and doing that with our diverse business owners. And so the critical thing is that making sure a company on a high level is able to add value to that organization that they're looking to engage. I'm also say providing a cost savings. That's what we're looking at. Where are you able to bring that cost savings in? Recognizing, at least for us, is that our country revolves around the discussion of the cost of healthcare. In most healthcare institutions, when looking at how to reduce those costs, first target our supply chain. And so how is it that we are paying for products, goods, and services that are required to deliver our end user need, and how we can reduce those costs? And then lastly, I'll just loop in understanding a company's needs. UPMC's needs, but also if it's Duquesne Light, if it's the URA's needs, understanding what those companies' needs are. It's a difference, folks may want to do business with the Duquesne or URA, and when it comes to UPMC, understanding that we are one of the largest employers of servicing over 90,000 employees. We have multiple divisions. We have 40 plus hospitals, over 600 physicians, and specialty care centers, and we're in multiple countries. So fully understanding as a diverse business owner, the scope and the magnitude of who you're looking to engage business with, and understanding what that need is so that you can be a value addition to them. So I'll add those as far as the high level piece of not just what UPMC looks for in engaging diverse businesses, but I would venture to say with my colleagues, Jazmine and Micah, that they may say some things along the same vein of value addition, meeting those needs, and cost savings.
Thanks. I think that's a great way to start off the conversation. And I really like, Ebony, how you talked about the scale, at UPMC, and how you think about this from different perspectives because of the footprint of the organization. So maybe Micah, going to you next, thinking about, Duquesne Light and the fact that we are, locally positioned here in Pittsburgh. Can you speak a little bit about the philosophy around supplier diversity from that perspective?
Sure. Yeah, and that was a great overview, Ebony, which, I think that I can mimic a lot of what you said. But on the complete opposite side, here is a utility company, totally different industry with totally different needs. And yet we're also a very small utility that only provides electricity to just 2 counties here in Western Pennsylvania. So Allegheny County and Beaver County. We are a very small utility company, so our needs are different. And, the one thing that I do want to highlight that Ebony said that is really important to us at Duquesne Light is certification. And we don't truly care who you get certified through, as long as it is a valid third party, right? So whether it's through the UPC or the Unified Certification Program, or whether it's one of the larger regional councils or chambers of commerce, such as EMSDC, right, We Back East, the NGLCC. We really don't, we're not particular on who it is, but what's important to us is the authenticity of who we're doing business with, right? And ensuring that the data that we're also reporting to our stakeholders is authentic and true. And because I think that everybody knows the biggest, probably number one, driver in supplier diversity is your spend, right? Spend is the most important thing with the supplier diversity program, because that's how you measure how well your program is doing. And, so we do accept the whole broad range of diverse classifications. We are actually still, tossing around the idea of incorporating small businesses, which maybe, Ebony might have some information, or Jazmine, about that. But right now we're really focused on what we consider, the more marginalized businesses that are, whether they're minority owned, women owned, veteran, LGBT, hub zone, et cetera. So right on our website, we do clearly list those 8 diverse classifications that we accept in our program. We really stress the importance of certification. And last but not least, what's really important to a utility company, as in most companies, but it's safety. And that is what's really the leader and forefront for our company. And I think that everybody knows, with technology nowadays, doesn't matter what industry you're in, there's always a risk, right? And we saw the pipeline scandal earlier this summer, where there was ransom that was paid out, to the Russians for that cybersecurity hack. We cannot afford to let the lights go out, right? So we're extreme top notch whenever it comes to the quality of suppliers that we do business with, as well as, their safety standards as well. And so those are some really kind of key points to our industry, which, to further elaborate off what Ebony said, is you have to look at who you're doing business with and really what's important to them, right? What matters to that company, and how are you going to bring value that sets you completely apart from somebody else? And that's really what we look for. And I will say, as a side note, I really appreciate Duquesne Light's commitment to DE&I. I actually think that they are a leader with DE&I. It is appreciated and it is valued, and it is driven from top down, which is wonderful. And it's taken seriously too in procurement, where I can say from a previous role, I didn't feel as strong as I do here at Duquesne Light. So I really kudos to them, and we really do have aggressive targets. This is our first year where we do have 2 supplier diversity KPIs that are being reported up to our board. We are a privately held company, and we have no federal requirements of a supplier diversity program, which even shows their commitment even above and beyond to have this program. And then last year to create a full-time head count for me to join the procurement and supply chain team.
Yeah, I think that's great, Micah. And something that I pulled out of that I think speaks to both the utility side and the healthcare side is the critical service that both industries provide, right? And how important it is that it's not just how you deliver the service that you deliver, but how you work with others to make sure that there isn't a loss of quality or expectation, and making sure that those things are met. So I think that's a really important element here, and we might come back to that in the conversation. I want to move to Jazmine now, and thinking about, what this means from the URA perspective. And I know, Jazmine and Austere, you do a lot of work with these businesses. The individuals that are coming to the URA might identify as minority owned, women owned, veteran owned. So can you talk a little bit about what your philosophy is and how you all work to support that system of entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so supplier diversity is more pinpointed when it comes to the URA, especially when it comes to MWBE and the URA, meaning that we are a government funding source. So we have city requirements and percentages that we have to reach with each of these projects that we have. So with that being said, MWBE was built to monitor this progress so we can make sure that minority and women-owned businesses are given opportunities, equal opportunities. So with that being said, we have specific goals that we have to reach. If the URA has, if it's a URA affiliated project that is over $250,000, then MWBE goals have to come into play. And so with that being said, the city's goals are 18% of the total project cost has to go to minorities. 7% of the total project cost has to go to women. So my job is to monitor this, but not only are we committed to minority and women-owned businesses, we also encourage supplier diversity, meaning that if you were to hire a supplier, we would also, a minority or a women-owned supplier, then we would also help give you credit with the funds that you give them to help you reach the MWBE goals that the city has given us. So with that being said, I'm gonna try to make this as simple as possible because I know it's a lot of percentages and nothing really, makes sense just hearing it. So let's just say your total project cost was $200, right? No, it's not the 250,000 goal, but let's just say it was $200. So the 25% of MWBE would be $50, right? So 18% of that, $36, are to go to minorities. The $14, which is 7%, is to go to women. So with that being said, say you were to hire a minority architect and you were to pay them $10 out of that $50, that was to go to your MWBE goals, then 100% of that $10 will count towards your MWBE goals. Now, let's say you were to hire a minority woman-owned lumber company, a supplier, right? So 60% credit would go to that, meaning that say you were contracted to give them $10 of that $50, then only 60% would count towards the MWBE goals. Because like I said earlier, is the URA MWBE program is more centralized around minority and women-owned businesses, but we also want to support suppliers. So we want to give you that 60% to count towards that goal. So instead of the $10 that was contracted, 6 of those dollars would go to your project, to the MWBE goals, if that makes sense to you guys. So that's how it works with us. We have specific goals, specific numbers that we have to reach, because this is the city of Pittsburgh's commitment to diversity. And we are the monitors, we are the enforcers in that. when it comes to the government funding through the URA.
And I just want to interject. Can you explain the MWE self process in terms of businesses and the impact statement, and how we use that in order to get capital, whether it's a grant or a large contract, that there is a requirement to do an impact statement to even, apply for the funding?
Right. So yeah. So we have specific process to when you want to be awarded a contract through the URA, that you have to already have diversity included in your contract to even be awarded any money through the URA. So that comes through me. I go to these bid meetings when you submit the bid, and I look at specifically your MWBE goals. And when someone says they're MWBE, I mean an MBE or a WBE, to be considered that in the URA, you have to be certified. So like Michael was saying, we also accept the PAUCP certification. But one thing that we do have is the URA self-certification. Now, this self-certification process that we have, I approve these certifications. All you have to do is have a license or an ID and a affidavit saying what your business is and your ties to it. So with that being said, we have a 48-hour turnaround, and you can be certified through the URA as a MBE or WBE and be able to start work immediately. And this is a free process. So we definitely encourage the URA self-certification process. And with that being said, URA self-certifications are only eligible to be used on URA projects. So we also encourage you to get a PAUCP certification. There are numerous certifications that you can use on URA projects, and we encourage them all.
Yeah, I just want to say, as someone who's seen the lending side of things, especially with construction, I don't think people understand the cost to get certified, but also the insurance and bonding, just the steps to get to be able to just do work. And we realized this was a huge barrier, especially to small businesses, minority businesses, women businesses. So we had really great contractors, suppliers, tradesmen who were, had small businesses that wanted to get involved with these many, multi-million dollar construction deals. But because they didn't have, the various steps and the requirements that were often financially based to get certified, they were missing out. And, construction now, if you're trying to get workers to get on a job, it's so hard. It's difficult. Everyone's doing construction. Everyone needs somebody with these certifications to drive different machines and, haul their machines. It's very competitive. And, we have folks sitting on the job site because they can't get enough people. So we came up with this process to get folks that we know are qualified on the job site and get can be subs on these contracts. It's just one way to eliminate barriers. And we're able to do that as a government entity because we are typically own the land, we're in the deal, and we have a little bit more, we have more opportunities to assess risk and to, derail any risk. But I would love to see an opportunity for something like this, maybe perhaps a bridge program or something like this, to kind of help folks get to that certification, particularly in the construction and construction trade industry. Thanks, Sam.
No, I think so. I really wanted to go to the certification topic next, and in part because Micah and Ebony, I'd love to hear a little bit more about how your organizations and even, your thought process on how to advise businesses through the certification landscape. And just to give some context, with Invest in Her, we really only ask that our entrepreneurs identify as, the primary owner, and we kind of classify that as 51% ownership in the business. But that's pretty much it, right? We just kind of look at it as, you tell us that you own at least 51% of that business, and we will, bring you into our network. But we've seen, and Jazmine and I were talking about this earlier, that there are a number of businesses that won't take that extra step to get the certification to make themselves eligible for these types of contracts and relationships. So Ebony, maybe starting with you, how does UPMC look at this? What resources are out there for minority and women-owned businesses to kind of guide them and walk them through the process?
Yeah. So it is in our policy of UPMC to provide certified, diverse business enterprises the maximum opportunity to participate as partners and suppliers of goods and services. And so I believe I shared this, but if I haven't, we are committed to supplier diversity and inclusion because it is an integral part of our overall supply chain management strategies. So implicit in this policy is the assumption that any such diverse business shall have the required qualifications to bid for the provision of goods and services. And UPMC supply chain management maintains a certified diverse vendor file. So we recognize that our diverse firms enhance our supply chain and it also increases our competitive advantage within the marketplace. So our goal as an organization is not only to be best in class, but to create a supplier diversity and inclusion program that is recognized world-class among nationally and internationally renowned health systems in a larger business community. So in order to participate in our program, a business must be self-certified, as Micah and Jazmine have stated, or certified as a minority, women-owned, disadvantaged business enterprise, LGBT-owned, veteran-owned, and Sam, I believe you alluded to this too, having 51% ownership and maintain daily control of their business. So that certification is key, and we do recognize, like my colleagues here, multiple third-party agencies like NMSDC, like WeBank, like Navoba. We recognize those as third-party agency certifications, and that list, which is it's not an exhaustive list, but it can be found on our Supplier Diversity and Inclusion web portal. And I will also state that we accept federal, state, and local government certifications as well. But that certification piece is key in doing business. I know that there are barriers that come up because of costs that can be associated with a diverse certification. The other piece is identifying what certification do I need. It's not meant for you to go and grab every single certification that's out there. So that's you as that diverse business owner taking a very good look at your company, your capabilities, and seeing which of the certifications are most reflective of your company. And then if you want, branching out to say, hey, let me grab this other certification, but really looking at the certification in which you are most going to engage, be active and participating so that you are able to build that network and create potential opportunities for the company. The other piece in that is, I'm sorry, we're working from home, and so my dog just jumped up on me. Like, I guess she got excited too about this piece. But having that certification piece is an integral part. What we do to answer the latter part of your question, Sam, we have our Essentials for Success program. And we do that in conjunction with the Pennsylvania SBDC at the University of Pittsburgh. And this program trains and counsels our diverse suppliers for business with UPMC. So it's a targeted supplier curriculum within our county for the owner to work on the business instead of in the business. And in that, we provide over 40 educational components to improve a diverse business owner's acumen. And materials are customizable for each of our diverse business owners. I will say this though, you must be a registered UPMC, registered within our diverse web portal in order to take advantage of our Essentials for Success. The same in line with our Turner School of Construction Management. This is a great opportunity where we partner with Turner School of Construction to provide our construction business owners with industry professionals that is going to help grow the capacity of their companies. It's a 6-week program. We launch at the end of this month. So again, if you're a diverse business owner, this is the support. Register in our portal so that you're able to take advantage of this free 6-week course. We go over everything in there that Oster just shared with you all. We are increasing MWDBE utilization goals through new partnerships. Some of our course highlights are on sustainability, procurement, the bonding experience, bid day simulation, construction law, financial management. But it's you as that business owner taking that initiative to say, hey, I know that there are barriers here, but we have opportunities like now with Invest in Her. We have Micah, we have Jazmine, who are sharing what those resources are. And I know they're going to go, so I'm going to wrap this up and share what theirs are as well, that are going to be able to support our diverse business owners because we don't, at least, UPMC, we want you to do business with us, but we also want you to be successful with other companies as well. And so we're going to foster and nurture that for you. And the first step in doing that is of course for us being in our portal, but making sure you have that diverse certification. And we point you in the direction. Our essentials list, our Essentials for Success list for New York, Maryland, and Pennsylvania, all of the different certifying agencies and their fees and where you're able to be connected. Some are, free of cost, and some there are costs associated with, but we provide that to you and share that information with our diverse business owners.
That's really great. And I think, hearing about the different programs and opportunities for businesses is really critical, right? Because I think in order for you all to achieve your goals and to be successful, you have to participate in the process and make sure that as many businesses that are eligible are kind of making their way through the pipeline. Mike, I know this is something that Duquesne Light is also looking at as we sort of look at the process for certification and self-certification. So can you shed a little light on, what you all are thinking about from the Duquesne Light side of things?
Sure. Yeah, and just to stem off like what Ebony said, the programs that UPMC has are phenomenal and are excellent that help diverse businesses. But part of this whole supplier diversity program is also supplier development, which UPMC does a great job of, right? Because we have to continue to work and develop our suppliers. And that way, over time, you're going to see that generational growth, right? So with these suppliers, as you continue to work with them, and one connection leads to another connection, and the work experience that they get leads to new opportunities. So supplier development really is a key to that. But with regards to certification, at Duquesne Light right now, we do accept self-certification until the end of 2022. So about another 16 months. And then in January 1st of 2023, we're only going to accept certified suppliers. So once again, knowing, Duquesne Light, we're a local utility. One thing that I'm now actually reaching out to all of our diverse suppliers who have identified as self-certified, especially if they are a disadvantaged business. So whether they're looked at as a woman-owned or minority-owned business, to really partner with the PAUCP. Lisa Edmonds, downtown, the Department of Equity and Inclusion in Pittsburgh is wonderful. And, because we also want to let suppliers know that there is a more cost-effective way of getting a certification than partnering with the local regional chambers of councils and supplier diversity councils, right? So we're not expecting you to go spend a lot of money every year to get certified through Novoba or NMSDC or WeBank, but we also know that there's a lot of opportunities and benefits to being certified with those different types of supplier diversity councils and chambers. And, I think NMSDC has a fantastic database of, searching for diverse suppliers, just because it's easy. I think they all have good databases, to be honest, but I just think it's very quick with NMSDC, and that is like the first go-to that I look at whenever sourcing need surfaces, and that's where I'll go into those databases. So when you do get certified through an organization like that, where yes, they do charge money, you're also opening up the doors a lot wider, and you're casting the net much wider, where somebody out of the blue might contact you just because they found your profile online and they're looking for something, that whatever that need might be. So we're, it doesn't really matter who that agency is, but as long as it's a legitimate third party. So as Ebony said, city, state, right? Every state in the United States has a UCP program because they accept, dollars from the Department of Transportation. So that is a much cost-effective way, to go about it. So anybody locally here, yeah, I would definitely say partner with, Department of Equity and Inclusion of Pittsburgh down in Allegheny County.
That is great information to share, and we'll make sure that we reiterate that, because I think we've had a number of businesses reach out to us and say, where do I go from here? How do I start this process? Or there's a misconception that the process is too expensive or too time consuming and that it's not worth it at the end. And I think when Invest in Her first started, we were having a lot of conversations about all the money that's essentially being left on the table, because there are these programs that exist within companies, right, to specifically bring on more diverse suppliers. And there are a number of diverse suppliers out in the marketplace that are not taking advantage of it. And so, the dollars are just waiting for somebody to walk through the door. So I think the information that you're both sharing too about how, as a company, you're there to support and to continue to foster that community and make sure that they have the resources they need to be successful, even if they're not securing, a bid with your company, but any company, right? So thinking about this, once you've got the certification and you're going through the RFP process, where do you all see the biggest pitfalls or areas in which, businesses sort of fall down or aren't as successful as they could be? And maybe Jazmine, we'll start with you on this. And I think sort of building off of, Aster's comments about construction and sort of the nuance of that space, where do you see some of your suppliers sort of struggling and not doing what they need to be as effective?
So the pitfall that I see the most happening at the URA is that once businesses get certified and suppliers get certified, then they don't sign up for our bidding and procurement website. So they miss out on the opportunities that the URA has to bid on projects or to bid on suppliers that we have, because they're not signed up to receive these notifications that we're doing a project and we could use some help on it, or that the Penguins are rebuilding in the Hill District and they need some businesses, they need some suppliers, they need some contractors. And we'll put that on our website and hold bid sessions. And a lot of people will miss out on that because they're not signed up for this procurement website that we have. So I would say once you get certified, to keep going, find out how to get in on these opportunities around Pittsburgh, because there are so many opportunities, especially in the construction industry, because we are an industrialized community. And so we have all these opportunities available, especially at the URA, because we own so many properties. We are helping developers develop so many different avenues that we have here. So yeah, that's the biggest pitfall that I see at the URA.
And Micah and Ebony, anything else that you see on your end?
I would just say, I feel like the majority of the challenge is actually well before the RFP process. That's just my personal opinion. And Ebony's laughing because I'm sure she understands that too. It's one of those things where it's really about trying to make that connection and build that relationship, getting your foot into the door with the company and the correct business partners and the correct procurement and supply chain personnel. So, what I really try to do is if I work with a supplier or meet a supplier network, really to try to thoroughly understand if they're a good mix for the company. And then I meet with my procurement managers on a weekly basis and say, like, here's who I met. Do we think that there's, number one, do we think they're qualified? But number two, is there opportunity, right? And so, I, for instance, had a meeting on Monday with a fantastic minority-owned janitorial service company. We don't have opportunity till 2023, but because of the dialogue and how they, demonstrated the services that they provide and how they can support us, we started that conversation now. Granted, the RFP is not going to be for 18 months, but that's how it gets started. And it's really, I think, all kind of goes back and shows, your value add and how you're different and how you separate yourself from the competition. So when you can do that and produce yourselves to then people who are more the decision makers, like in procurement and in the business, then we'll have that dialogue and then we'll start that relationship and continue to touch base and further develop it. And even after that call on Monday, I know they're going to be participated. They're going to be invited to the RFP in 18 months. It's hands down. So it's also good to remember, not every company has what you're looking for, right? Every company has different needs. And yes, you might have a stellar product, but if we don't have a need for that product, you should be then putting your efforts somewhere else. And that's just it, being a utility company where the majority of our spend is in construction and engineering utility space. That is not easy to find within the disadvantaged business world, right? Or small disadvantaged businesses or minority owned or diverse. So that's why it's critical for us to develop the relationships with our primes who are not diverse, and then work with our diverse suppliers to partner with them as a potential subcontractor to us down the road, right? Because we understand the risk, right? The safety, the reliability issues. But from there, we've just seen that if they can get their foot in the door with some of our primes, which is number one, has always been what we've heard as feedback is the biggest problem, then from there, then that's where then the door actually opens.
I think that's really valuable. And I love that you talked about the relationship building aspect of that, because I know that there are some out there that want the process to be really quick and easy, right? You go in and you say, hey, I've got this service, like, let's sign the paper right here. And you're really trying to cultivate that relationship and make sure that they're well positioned when the time comes. Because, something else we haven't really talked about, but in a lot of cases, you're signing these contracts that are going to last a few years. So it's not like you're always turning over. You've got some that might be up for renewal in 3 years, and that's what you're really looking at is, who's in the pipeline when that contract comes up to be renegotiated or reevaluated, right? So I think that was a really important takeaway. Ebony, anything you want to add to this conversation about sort of where it can go wrong?
Yeah, same line as, as Micah said when I was just chuckling away here. And what he mentioned in that relationship building, so as supplier diversity professionals, a lot of our work is behind the scenes and engaging those internally within, our company. And so like Micah said, he's meeting with folks. I meet with those in our sourcing, direct and indirect sourcing. We don't always know when a contract comes up, but it's important for us to be able to engage with them. So that's extremely key. And I know for me, it was beneficial to this role. I'm coming off of being a relationship manager and strategist, was being able to navigate those relationships, keeping abreast, because they have a need that they have to meet as well. And so I connected a diverse IT company with our IT folks because this company's level of engagement. You know, it may not be an opportunity right this minute, but the more you're on the radar, the more when the door of opportunity opens. So I like folks to realize that there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes as well. But on the front end of that, you know, I encourage our diverse business owners to make sure that their certifications are current. They are, you know, up to date, so that when an opportunity does come, they're ready for a business potentially. And also looking at too, you know, if there is an opportunity for, say, a set aside, that your company is really ready to scale up. Because with UPMC, we're growing. So we're looking for those opportunities of growth. And so when we decide to, say, engage in potential contract opportunity, we're looking for that company to be able to scale up too with us. So where you might first have that initial bite on a smaller project, know that the opportunity to scale up is there, and you have to be ready and having your I's dotted and your T's crossed. So I just wanted to bring that in as well too. And when you're registering in a portal for a company, making sure that, because that's the first entry point for us, you know, UPMC does not advertise opportunities, and most corporations don't. Most companies don't advertise their opportunities. And in that web portal, that diverse web portal is the first engagement, the initial contact for where a company, a diverse business owner is going to be visible. So that's the opportunity to brag on yourself and your company and what you bring to the table. And so I'll close out on that piece of it, because this is the part where I get really excited.
I'm so glad that you brought up this idea of scale. You know, I think that's something we've actually seen businesses struggle with growth because they're just not positioned to take on that volume, right? And I think we've worked with a couple food businesses in the past, and that's sometimes been the Achilles heels, that they're really great at serving a small market or doing the farmers markets or catering directly to like people in their community, but they can't take on those big contracts because they don't have the staffing support or the logistics or whatever the case is. And so they have to sort of sit down and think about that, right? Of if you're really going to grow, did you invest in all of these things to get you there? And it's hard. I can see, you know, for small businesses, that can be a real challenge. We're getting close to the end of our conversation, and it's been extremely valuable. We did receive a question in the chat that I thought was a really great one to ask. You know, we talk a lot about suppliers, and I think the three of you have referenced different types of suppliers that you might work with. But can you give a sense of just, you know, what runs the gamut in terms of the types of suppliers that you're looking at? I mean, anything from, you know, Micah, you said janitorial services to, you know, big construction contracts. Like, do you look at this across the enterprise from, you know, the smallest types of engagements and vendor agreements to, you know, things that are going to be really critical to what you do as a service? So any of you could start, you know, just kind of giving a rundown of what the suppliers might look like for your industry.
Okay. Maybe I'll just go first really quickly. So just to kind of give everybody an overview, we have 3 procurement areas at Duquesne Light: engineering and construction. We have IT and professional services or shared services. And then we also have our MRO, our maintenance, repair, and operations procurement categories. So yes, depending, you know, we'll take any dollar amount whenever I'm partnering with my 12 procurement colleagues. So we are a smaller company, but, you know, whether it's different types of engineering work, civil, you know, geotechnical, then there's all types of different construction work, right? Paving, underground, a lot of transmission and distribution work that we look at suppliers. And that, of course, is our biggest spend category. But then you also then look at IT. So a lot of IT consultants, cybersecurity, IT staffing, different, you know, types of needs within that IT space, software, hardware, et cetera, applications. And then, you know, professional services, site services, anything, right? So we need people for janitorial, snow removal, cleaning, physical security on campus or at our sites, marketing, contingent labor, whatever that need might be, promotional items, branding, stuff like that. And then the maintenance repair is where we buy all of our tools, widgets, switches, breakers, right? Relays, all different types of things, right? Office supplies, you name it. So those are our three main categories. And I do any type that there's a competitive bid. I'm actually the first person to be alerted about that through the SharePoint system that we've implemented. So I am aware of every competitive bid that gets entered and where there's a need. But then for some stuff that doesn't go out to bid, where it's just quotes or one-offs, the great thing is I've really worked with our procurement managers to change their behavior to reach out to me and say, hey, like I have a need for 2 pickup trucks. And it's great because I'm really trying to partner. We've started a partnership with the WMBE who provides fleet, which is great. So, I mean, over time, we will see that change and that increase in spend, but a lot of it is behavioral based change. And that's the route where we're headed. So yeah, I mean, we will accept anything, but just like a little piece of advice, and I don't want to like take everybody's time, maybe as a final thought too, just know your audience, know who like your client is, right? Know your elevator pitch and what sets you apart. And then I would also ask them and be direct and frank and say, like, listen, is there opportunity for me or not? Because you don't want to try to build on a relationship where there will probably never be a need for that company down the road, right? So just be frank, transparent about it. And I wish you the best of luck.
That was great. Ebony or Jazmine, anything you want to add to that?
Everything under the sun. And that's also thinking about, the larger projects and what happens after that project is done. So the maintenance, like, Micah said, snow removal, all of those different things, IT, professional services, and looking to see where an opportunity may last. So in the same vein, we have UPMC corporate and UPMC health plan. Our health plan side focuses more on those governmental contracts and working with small business owners. So that's another piece of it as well too. But we are looking to support our diverse business owners in various industries and making sure that we're able to have them be successful, not just with, as I stated with UPMC, but building relationships with other companies as well too.
Yes, and on behalf of the URA, we deal a lot with construction. So most of our suppliers tend to be in the construction industry. But with that being said, the URA isn't just committed to diversity in construction contracts. We also, there's times when my boss has reached out to me and said, do you guys have any suppliers that's doing janitorial work? Do you guys know any security companies that are MWBEs? We have a broad list of MWBEs that we need and we utilize. So regardless of if it's just in the MWBE construction industry or not, we are willing to look at everybody. So please be certified, come sign up on our bidding and procurement website because we have thousands of opportunities. So that's all.
Sam, can I just add one tiny piece to that just really quickly? Encouraging folks to look at trends. Your job as that business owner, you wear several hats, but looking at the trends and looking at locally what is happening in the region with a company to see what projects they have upcoming. So that way it's a reflection of you it's showing you what is going to be reflected in what those needs are and what potential bids or opportunities may be coming out. So I just wanted to add that piece of it.
I That's actually a really great point that you're making, Ebony. And I speaking from Duquesne Light perspective, you like when you listen to leaders of company talk about the vision or what they're, where they're going with their organization, that usually means there's going to be some need, right? When we talk about moving to renewable sources of electricity, or we think about creating new jobs and opportunities in the market, there's going to be things that come with that where we're going to have to engage new suppliers and new solutions, right? So I think you raise a really good point that the more you pay attention to what these companies are talking about and what goals they're setting, and you have to assume that they're going to need people to help them reach those goals, and kind of building those relationships and saying, hey, I'm really interested in partnering with you on this effort is really valuable. So thank you for that. Aster, I see you have your hand up while you're asking your question. I'm going to share, we're coming up at the end here, so I'm going to share the resources that Ebony and Micah sent along so that you can get in touch with both of them and learn a little bit more about their programs and opportunities.
Just building off of trends, I just wanted to make sure folks understood the needs for preparedness. So, maybe 2 years from now, someone in your industry, there's going to be a need, whatever that may be. This is the time that you start looking at perhaps a line of credit, or perhaps, getting, building equity partners, whatever that may look like. I say this because of, with the construction piece in mind. Oftentimes, if you're a contractor, yay, you got the bid, but to start that work and hire some folks, it's going to cost you 10 grand out of pocket on day one. And it's through Invest in Her, we know it's very hard for small businesses to get business loans. To get a line of credit is even harder. So when you're thinking about scalability and all the little pieces that go into scaling, and you see a trend, that's also the time to start building and getting all the things that you need to be sustainable and to grow. So by the time that bid, in a year and a half comes up, or 6 months from now, or whatever that looks like for your industry, you have the mentorship, you have the supplier, the connection to the supplier if you're going to increase production, if you're in manufacturing, or whatever that may be, or a pipeline for hiring. So I think that's something that folks also need to think in tandem of, following the trends, but also making sure that you have all the pieces to be sustainable and operate at that level.
Yeah. Well, we have come to the end of our hour, and I think we feel this at the end of all of our Industry Insights events, that we could talk for another hour, but we want to be mindful of everyone's time. I really want to extend my gratitude and thanks to all of our panelists. I think you shared a lot of really valuable information. You explained the process in a way that I think a lot of our businesses will understand and can sort of navigate through. So I appreciate you being here tonight and sharing that with us. We will, post this recording on our channels, as I indicated earlier, so that people can come back to it and pull down these resources and this information. But really just want to thank you all. If you have any questions for the Invest in Her team, you can always email us at investinher@gmail.com. And we just look forward to, seeing you all again, hopefully in person. But I'm really excited that we were able to have the opportunity to connect tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Have a nice evening.
Have a great night.
Thanks, you too.